morning everyone, this is Jeff with the Green Review. Watering landscapes, especially lawns, is a concern in many areas of the country. At the rate water is being drawn from aquifers, most of the country that has not yet experienced a water shortage and some form of landscape watering rationing will experience it in the coming years. Some regions are already recycling water, such as golf courses that are maintained with gray water, which is water that's been used by people but doesn't need to be treated at a wastewater facility. Water quality is also an issue. If water comes from a municipal source, it may have fluoride, chlorine, or chloramine added for human health and safety issues, but those chemicals may be potentially harmful to plants. The pH of well water and municipal water may be too high for acid-loving plants like blueberries and rhododendrons, especially those grown in containers. Well water should be tested to see if it's appropriate for the landscape. An automated irrigation system can be useful for watering the landscape when you're not home, and it can conserve water if it's designed and maintained correctly. Using a basic irrigation timer doesn't take into account the environment of your lawn and landscape. Does the landscape have slopes that face the sun or away from the sun? Does the water run off onto the sidewalk while the irrigation zone is running? Is just the top inch or two of soil getting wet? A timer-based system needs to be fine-tuned so that every irrigation zone's run time matches the zone's slope, sun exposure, soil type, and plant material choices. Then the whole system needs to be adjusted weekly or at a minimum monthly based on the plant life cycle stage. Is it growing or is it going dormant? The climate, the expected temperature, and the amount of rain that recently fell. Running a zone for 10 minutes several times in one day is not the same thing as running the zone for 30 minutes once. Several 10-minute waterings with time in between can use the water more effectively by allowing the water to soak deeper into the soil. The most effective watering would be to add water a tiny bit at a time all day long as the plants use it up. But of course that's unrealistic and unnecessary, as good soil acts as a sponge that stores water and gives the water to the plants as they need it. Test each of your irrigation zones by placing rain gauges, soup cans, or coffee cups around the zone. Run the zone to see how long it takes to apply 1 inch of water. A 1/4 inch in the cup after 15 minutes would mean an hour for each inch. As you test each zone, time how long it takes before water starts running off where it should not go. If the system needs to run an hour to apply 1 inch of water, but the water starts running off over the sidewalk after 5 minutes, you'll need to set that zone for several 5-minute runs with some time off in between for the water to soak into the soil. If it would take 5 hours to water your whole landscape, but the law says you can only run the water for 3 hours a day in the morning, split your zones accordingly. Irrigation systems should be tested regularly to see if there are problems, like sprinkler heads that are watering the sidewalks and not on the landscape. A healthy lawn on thick, loamy soil will need 1 inch of rain every 10 to 14 days to stay green and growing. You can apply 1/2 inch each week if you want. This is because a good loamy topsoil will get wet 6 to 8 inches deep with 1 inch of rain, and the grass will take this water out over a couple of weeks. When your topsoil is thin or has more clay or more sand, then you may need to water more often. If the lawn is in an arid or warm climate, then you'll need to water more often. If the lawn is on a sunny slope or in the shade all day long, that'll also influence how much water is needed. Northern, cool season grasses can go dormant in hot summer weather and need a lot less water, but they still need some water to stay alive. 1/4 inch per week in a dry spell will keep the crown of the grass plant alive, but still dormant. Southern, warm season grasses go dormant during cool weather, but still need a little water to stay alive. If your soil is sandy or you live in a dry desert or mountain climate, you might need to water several times each week or even daily. Daily waterings of 10 minutes per zone can be an appropriate amount, but it should be based on your soil, climate, and the other things I've been mentioning. Watering in the morning is typically the best time of day because the water on the leaves can evaporate before disease organisms can infect the leaf. Evening watering tends to evaporate slowly and can help promote, especially lawn fungus, disease problems. Every climate zone across the country has a different amount of rain and a different amount of evaporation. Plants transpire water out of the leaves as a method of moving water and nutrients throughout the plant. The combination of evaporation and transpiration is how water is lost from the soil that has been irrigated. The ET rate, as it's known, is the amount of water necessary to add to a lawn or flower bed to keep the plants healthy. The ET rate will change daily, monthly, and seasonally. Your local extension service can tell you what the local ET rate is. Professional turf people, like those maintaining grass and golf courses or athletic fields, as well as farmers irrigating fields, have been concerned with the ET rate for many years. Homeowners will have to become familiar with the ET rate as more places run into shortages of water available for landscape watering. Compare your local ET rate with the actual amount of water used on your lawn, and you can see if you're using too much. A rain gauge or a small can can be used to judge how much water has been applied. Shallow soil, less than 6 inches deep, may mean watering more often to keep up with the grass plant's demand for water, since less water will be available in the shallower soil. But you must be careful not to water so often that the soil never has a chance to breathe and let in some air. And you might also, if you're overwatering, get sedge plants, especially nut sedge growing. Use a shovel to slit open the soil to see how far down the water is moved after a known amount of water has been applied for a known amount of time. That way you'll be able to see how deep the water is going. Small amounts of water on the soil don't go very deep. Roots can't grow very deep if there's no water. When dry weather comes, the top layer of soil dries out and there's no water or roots down deep to get it. If the waterings were longer so the water goes deeper, there will be water and roots deep enough to get the water when the dry weather comes. So what's all this mean to me? Whenever you have the chance, always get more topsoil. It's a water conservation tool, and the plants in the landscape will all be much healthier. To get more topsoil on an existing lawn that was installed over a clay or sandy soil base, add more organic matter. The best way to get it down into the soil without removing the grass is to use a core aerator. In other words, what's this mean to me? Just because you can water on every even day in the calendar doesn't mean that you should. And another what's this mean to me? The use of automated irrigation controllers has kept many people from knowing how much water their lawn actually needs and how much is actually being applied. Most people are not watering their properties and the landscapes for the best health of the plants or for the lowest water usage. There are several brands of irrigation equipment that have very accurate sensors that are installed in the soil to monitor the ET rate of the actual lawn they're applying the water to. The sensors allow the controllers to actually change the amount of time a specific area of lawn is watered to match the ET rate. The plants are not overwatered and they're not underwatered. Healthier plants with less water usage is the proper way to water landscapes and will be the way that they're irrigated in the future as water conservation becomes more important. If plants are not watered properly, they'll move from the thrive range to the survive range and then to the slow death range. If too much water is added, plant roots can drown. The extra water will either drain away or run off the surface. If they don't have enough water, plants will again move from the thrive range to the survive range of plant growth. Apply the proper amount of water your plants need, and the plants will be much healthier. And this is Jeff with the Green Review. Thanks for watching.